This is Montana Farmers Union Lunch and Learn podcast hosted by me, Jody Ketterbuck. Montana Farmers Union supports its members through education, legislation, and cooperation. This bi-weekly production will help you stay informed and connected to current agricultural issues, news, and events. Organic farming is more than just a trend. It's a method of production that emphasizes the use of natural processes and materials to grow food that's free from synthetic chemicals, genetically modified organisms, and other artificial inputs. The goal of organic agriculture is to work in harmony with nature, enhancing soil health, conserving water, and promoting biodiversity. But organic agriculture isn't just about what farmers avoid. It's also about what they embrace. Organic farmers focus on building healthy soil through crop rotations, composting, and cover crops. They also use natural pest management techniques and prioritize animal welfare. The end result is food that many consumers believe is healthier, safer, and better for the environment. Organic products are utilized by a wide range of people. Consumers who prioritize health and wellness often seek out organic foods, believing they're free from harmful chemicals and more nutritious. Environmentalists support organic farming because it reduces pollution, conserves water, and enhances soil fertility. Additionally, families who are concerned about the long-term impacts of synthetic chemicals in their diets often choose organic products for their kitchens. In today's episode, we're thrilled to be joined by a diverse group of guests who will share their insights on organic agriculture. We have Bob Quinn from the new Quinn Institute, dedicated to advancing organic farming techniques. Three experienced organic farmers who will share their on-the-ground experience as members of the Montana Organic Association, and will discuss the broader impact of organic farming in our region. Whether you're a farmer curious about transitioning to organic practices, a consumer interested in where your food comes from, someone passionate about sustainable agriculture, or just curious about what the difference between organic and conventional farming are, this episode is for you. So let's dive in and explore the benefits, challenges, and future of organic farming. Morning, Bob. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing today?
I am great. Bob Quinn is a fourth-generation farmer, author, renowned scientist, and passionate advocate for sustainable farming. He farms just east of Big Sandy, Montana, and recently opened the Quinn Institute.
Well, we have when I was raised, we had about 2,400 acres on our farm. We had a rotation that consisted of winter wheat, spring wheat, barley, and a little oats for the cows. We had about 1,200 acres of cropland, 1,200 acres of pasture. So it was a typical Montana, what we call diversified farm ranch in those days. Now we're farming about 3,600 acres. We have a 9-year rotation. 5 of those years are cash crops, which vary from alfalfa hay to winter wheat to spring wheat, which are ancient grain of Kamut. We grow hulless barley for human consumption. We grow high oleic safflower to be made into oil by the oil barn now located near Shelby. We grow lentils, chickpeas, buckwheat sometimes, and those are our cash crops that we have to choose from. 4 years out of the 9 are soil building crops such as alfalfa, sweet clover, peas, sometimes buckwheat, sometimes lentils, and those are the crops that we do not harvest, but we allow to nourish the soil and build up the soil, adding nitrogen and organic matter, which enables the soil to hold more water when it rains, particularly if it rains hard and fast. It is also just a big factor in increasing the health of the soil and benefiting it that way.
My name is Nate Powel-Palm. I'm based out of Bozeman, Montana, or rather just outside of Bozeman in Belgrade. And I've been a certified organic farmer since 2008. Today, we farm all over the Gallatin Valley. We've got a lot of different parcels, and we raise flax and yellow peas, spring wheat, durum, sometimes lentils, and then our foundation is alfalfa and cattle. And so that's how we both produce a lot of our fertility, control our weeds through that alfalfa, and then have somewhere to go with it with the cattle. I farm with my spouse, and we have seasonal contractors, some seasonal help, so it's mostly just the two of us. We're also first generation, so this entire thing was created in about 2004 when we got started with the cows, and we've leased land all across Gallatin County, a little bit down in Sheridan County, Wyoming, and then a little bit also over in Jefferson County.
So in total, how many acres would you say that you farm in average?
Yeah, just a little, right around 1,500.
Okay. And how many cattle do you have?
We fluctuate. Usually we're running about 80 mother cows, and then we're going to have a group that's our calves and then a finishing group. We try to take all of our animals grass-fed to finishing weight and then sell them as slaughter weight. And so we'll usually triple those numbers depending on where we're at in the year.
John Wicks farms at Tiber Ridge Organics outside Ledger, Montana. John is the Montana Farmers Union Pend Oreille County local president.
So about every year I can cash crop between 2,000 and 3,000 acres of organic pulse grain, oilseed, and rye and small grains, things like that every year. And then I try and do anywhere between like 600 and 1,500 acres of cover crop. That is kind of my fallow rotation.
Daryl Lassila is a member of the Cascade County Montana Farmers Union. He has a farm east of Great Falls, and he hosted the Organics Association Farm Tour in June.
Winter wheat, Ryan is winter wheat, spring wheat, durum, we put some smelt most years, peas, once in a while we'll play with lentils.
And how many acres do you have?
2,400 acres.
So I was privileged to get to attend the grand opening of the Quinn Institute. Can you tell me what the Quinn Institute is?
Why, sure. It's an effort to well, the whole purpose is I've decided to take 700 acres out of the middle of my farm and create a regenerative organic research, education, and health institute. And the purpose will be, and the mission and the vision, overall vision, everything is healing the earth by growing food as medicine. So the focus will be on everything we can do to reduce our chemical and poison load on the earth and to grow more nutritious food and help farmers everywhere do the same thing.
You're an organic farm. So what does it mean to be organic?
It's fun. It's it is a rewarding thing for me. Currently we do have conventional ground yet that we had to transition back.
So why did you go organic?
It was, I saw that there was less risk involved, less overhead. Crop insurance seemed to work a little bit better. So there was a lot less stress in that area of agriculture. Paying the bank back your operating note was a lot more easily obtainable than before. So you could sleep a little better at night knowing you were protected, and those safety nets that are in place actually they kind of worked for you. It wasn't a percentage of what your input was. You were gonna be able to pay it all back and still have money to like live on the rest of the year. So, and then really just getting a little more interested in the system plans and all the different aspects of organic. It was a lot more interesting than just taking a recommendation from an agronomist and then going out and putting that to work, that was not very fun to me to, put that in somebody else's hands. So you had to kind of learned a lot and just really enjoyed doing things a little more independently.
If you were to define organic, how would you define organic?
I would define it as I guess for me, it would be a cropping system that is free of all synthetics, herbicides, fertilizers, anything synthetic that might be damaging to the body or the, to the consumer or the farmer, and farmed in a way that's really sustainable for the environment and the community. And that's kind of what I try and do is, before when I first got into it, I was like pretty adamant on not dealing with anything that I didn't deem sustainable. And so I was like really into that, where now I can kind of see, well, there's a waste product of this that, is beneficial. So I haven't used it yet, but I know there's manure from other operations that could be utilized to kind of help the food system. But that's kind of what I would think is like, it is a sustainable practice that's, really enriching the soil. And I think a lot of people, they're looking at regenerative a lot now. And I think that those practices are great because they get people, I think, closer to organic, where they get into them and they start seeing how these things work. And I think once you're in that long enough, you kind of say, well, why am I still even using this? I've figured out a way. Where there's a lot of good regenerative farmers where they've gotten everything figured out except for pre-plant herbicide application. So I think we're getting closer to that. And I don't know that I really I'm regenerative organic certified, but I don't think I'll keep up on that just because I think I see it as more of a marketing term. And there's, self-certifying agencies out there that are saying what they have is regenerative, and there's a slew of regenerative labels and certifiers that I think without like the USDA oversight, that term is kind of going to get lost in the marketing side of it, which is sad because I think the movement is so good.
I wear a lot of hats in the organic industry. I've been a great recipient of a lot of awesome opportunities, a lot of awesome mentors. And so from the beginning, I was a Montana Organic Association member, kind of right out of the gate. And that's the group that represents all of organics in Montana, from your small produce growers all the way up to your really large grain farmers, over to your brands and your processors. In addition to serving as a community member, a committee member with MOA, I also have served on the National Organic Standards Board since 2020. That's the board that is appointed by the secretary. So I was appointed by Secretary Sonny Perdue under the former administration. And we are a cross section of the industry. We have producers, handlers, consumer advocates, as well as scientists, all of whom inform what organic is so that we can continuously improve. And so today I'm just rounding out that term. This is my 5th year. I just got done being chair of that board, which is super fun. And we take input from the community and try to make better policy so that organic reflects today's marketplace and today's industry preferences.
What do you see as the benefit of organic farming?
Yes, I love that question because they are endless. But to start building the list. So organic farming, all of this excitement about how do we spend less on fertilizer and build our soil while relying less on outside inputs in general, that is organic farming at its heart. We're looking for a way to build that soil up so that we're maximizing the ecological potential of the field rather than continuously relying on bringing in fertilizers, herbicides, pesticides. And we do that in a few different ways. So when we think about regenerative agriculture, oftentimes we're looking at how do we build that soil organic matter? How do we build that soil fertility? And in organic, we do that through crop rotation, and we do that through incorporation of cover crops, and we do that through incorporation of livestock. And so we're looking at all of these ways to pull both revenue streams from the farm, be it raising livestock and forage, raising cover crop seed, raising these different more niche crops, and try and make it so that we don't have to bring in an import fertilizer. When we think about how much money and time goes into weed control, organic approaches it from a really holistic method that we're going to say we're going to try to get, and I like to think about it as like workers on shift. If you think about an alfalfa plant, you're going to have a maximum season of photosynthesis and really deep perennial roots doing the work of outcompeting weeds, building soil fertility. And then when we have to terminate it, we have this huge benefit of all the nitrogen fixed by that alfalfa going into our annual crops that are going to happen afterwards. So when I think about how a young farmer gets started and stays in farming today, organic represents really a one-stop shop because it has the holistic framework of being able to sign what I like to say is the more of the backs of checks rather than the front of checks. You're bringing in more revenue, but you also have a lot of consumer confidence. You have a lot of consumer demand that even outstrips supply today. And so we're actually a net importer of organic grains because the demand is so high and we don't have enough acres in the US right now. And we're hoping to change that because it'd be awesome to have that all grown right here.
What do you see as the benefit of organic farming?
Yes, I love that question because they are endless. But to start building the list. So organic farming, all of this excitement about how do we spend less on fertilizer and build our soil while relying less on outside inputs in general, that is organic farming at its heart. We're looking for a way to build that soil up so that we're maximizing the ecological potential of the field rather than continuously relying on bringing in fertilizers, herbicides, pesticides. And we do that in a few different ways. So when we think about regenerative agriculture, oftentimes we're looking at how do we build that soil organic matter? How do we build that soil fertility? And in organic, we do that through crop rotation, and we do that through incorporation of cover crops, and we do that through incorporation of livestock. And so we're looking at all of these ways to pull both revenue streams from the farm, be it raising livestock and forage, raising cover crop seed, raising these different more niche crops, and try and make it so that we don't have to bring in an import fertilizer. When we think about how much money and time goes into weed control, organic approaches it from a really holistic method that we're going to say we're going to try to get, and I like to think about it as like workers on shift. If you think about an alfalfa plant, you're going to have a maximum season of photosynthesis and really deep perennial roots doing the work of outcompeting weeds, building soil fertility. And then when we have to terminate it, we have this huge benefit of all the nitrogen fixed by that alfalfa going into our annual crops that are going to happen afterwards. So when I think about how a young farmer gets started and stays in farming today, organic represents really a one-stop shop because it has the holistic framework of being able to sign what I like to say is the more of the backs of checks rather than the front of checks. You're bringing in more revenue, but you also have a lot of consumer confidence. You have a lot of consumer demand that even outstrips supply today. And so we're actually a net importer of organic grains because the demand is so high and we don't have enough acres in the US right now. And we're hoping to change that because it'd be awesome to have that all grown right here.
I'd really try and get people to visit with other producers. I attend, like the Montana Organic Association conference, and really just visit with people and see kind of what they're doing for whatever crop, whatever region you're in. And you'll find out pretty quick that, that community is one that's pretty accepting and willing to share what they've been doing and some of their successes, some of the failures. And really that you'll kind of wrap your head around the system, and that's when you kind of realize, well, this isn't just going back in time and, half summer fallow, half crop. You figure out these systems and what all these people are doing, and it's pretty eye-opening and pretty fun and everybody's really eager to share and help because there's such a vast market that, the US imports so much organic that there's room for everybody to be doing
organic brings a lot more value back to the communities, brings a lot more money back to the communities. You're not writing big checks to international, multinational companies now like Bayer, who bought Monsanto, and sending all that money out of not only out of town, but out of state, and now even out of the country, for heaven's sakes. Why don't we keep that money circulating right here in our communities in our state? And we can do that by supporting organic farmers and helping them support their communities by receiving a better price, a more fair price for what they're growing. I would not give up on resigning yourself that there's no way to change, because there is a way to change. And if you want to be a part of that change, then if you are farming, you can start reducing your chemical load if you're a chemical farmer, and make more money and have more fun, and be safer for you and your family. You can just try a little bit of organic transition.
So you're hosting a farm tour today. Why are you hosting a tour?
It just helps promote the organic.
To producers, consumers?
Most of our members that will show up, they're not members, but most of our guests that will show up are growers. We just share amongst ourselves as different secrets that we use, but they're not secrets. Anybody's welcome to.
Yeah.
And if there's a consumer shows up, that's great too.
Yeah.
And we'll show them that what their food for their family. Show them that it's a quality food.
What would you like to tell potential customers or consumers about organics?
I would tell them to really research where your food is coming from, and if that company buys U.S. organic, or if they're importing. You can still be USDA organic certified and in another country where some other certifier is certifying them. And I think you have to be careful about that, and fraudulent organics coming from other countries. So I think it's really important to really kind of research where your food is coming from, and to really know the farms and then the practices they're using. And that helps you become an educated consumer, where you know that the practice, you're supporting what you want to be supporting. You're not just seeing a label and throwing money at it. And I think it's important to also, recognize the USDA label as one that is fairly trustworthy over some of these other labels that are all natural, or, there's a handful of marketing terms that you think you're supporting, farmers and all these things, and you're really just, throwing your money at a marketing term, and somebody's making a quick buck on it.
So our whole focus on our mission statement, mentioned in the beginning, was to heal the earth by growing food as medicine. And if you think people complain about, oh, I have to pay more for organic, but look what you're paying for your healthcare. How do you do that? Right now, in the last 50 years, the cost of food and the cost of healthcare have completely switched in their placement in most people's budget. Food used to be around 18%, now it's around 9%. Healthcare used to be around 8%, now it's around 19%. So we just replaced one with the other, and you cannot talk about health care costs without talking about food, and you can't talk about food costs without talking about healthcare costs. So they go together, and if you add them both together, they both add up to about the same number over the years. So you can choose for yourself. You want to invest more in good food in the first place and then be healthier and reduce your healthcare costs, or do you want to just eat as cheap as you can, like putting the cheapest oil and cheapest fuel in your car and wondering why it doesn't last as long, or you want to just find the best you can to keep things running as good as possible. When you invest in organic food, you're also investing in reduction of chemical load on the whole planet. Well, I've been working with regenerative organic systems now for 35 years or more, and working with ancient wheat, and discovered that it has a much higher health and nutritional value than modern wheat. In fact, most people who can't eat modern wheat can eat this ancient wheat, marketed under the trademark of Kamut. And we've done, oh gosh, we spent 10 or 15 years doing research, published about 35 peer-reviewed journal articles comparing it to modern wheat. We find it's anti-inflammatory. We were doing mostly clinical trials for people with chronic diseases. In all cases, it was a very big help to their problems with their disease. So it reduced inflammation, it increased antioxidant capacity for diabetics, it reduced blood sugar, reducing insulin and insulin resistance. And we saw all kinds of stuff. We did studies on heart disease, people with heart disease, people with irritable bowel syndrome, people with non-alcoholic fatty liver syndrome, fibromyalgia, all the major chronic diseases that affect people around the world. And that really led me to the conclusion that food really should be and is our medicine, or could be, has the potential to be, and our medicine could be our food. And so that really redirected my whole life's work. And now I didn't have any of my kids showed up to take over the farm, so I decided to create an institute out of the middle of it with about a quarter or so of the acres. And we're off and running to see if we can't focus on that mission and that goal.
So do you have any last pieces of advice for our listeners?
Oh, well, I would not give up on resigning yourself that there's no way to change, because there's a way to change. And if you want to be a part of that change, then if you are farming, you can start reducing your chemical load if you're a chemical farmer, and make more money and have more fun, and be safer for you and your family. You can just try a little bit of organic transition.
I would encourage everyone to come to Montana Organic Association Conference the 10th, 11th, and 12th of December at the Mansfield Center in Great Falls. We're going to have a fantastic lineup of speakers, incredible programming, but better than that is the chance to meet all of the organic farmers in Montana and build that network and community.
I would just say to keep open-minded and keep asking questions and visit with farmers that are conventional and organic. And I think you'll kind of find out that everybody's doing the best that they can, and just ask questions from each other and learn from each other and share knowledge where you can.
As a producer, you have the power to make a significant impact on the future of agriculture by exploring organic farming practices. Whether you're considering a full transition to organic, or just want to incorporate more sustainable and regenerative practices into your current operation, now is the time to take action. Reach out to local resources such as the Montana Organic Association, or research facilities like the Quinn Institute dedicated to organic agriculture to get the support and information you need. By embracing organic practices, you can enhance soil health, reduce chemical dependency, and meet the growing demand for organic products, all while contributing to a healthier environment and a sustainable future for agriculture. As a consumer, your choices at the grocery store have a direct impact on the agricultural practices used to grow our food. By choosing organic products, you're not only supporting your own health and well-being, but encouraging the adoption of sustainable farming practices that benefit the environment. Take a moment to learn more about where your food comes from, and consider incorporating more organic items, or at least locally produced food, into your diet. Every purchase is a vote for the kind of world you want to live in, and by choosing organic and local, you're voting for a healthier, more sustainable future. Montana Farmers Union Lunch and Learn podcast is a resource for agricultural producers, support industry, and consumers. Join Montana Farmers Union today and make your voice heard, advocating for family farmers, ranchers, and rural communities. Visit MontanaFarmersUnion.com or MFUMT on Instagram, or Montana Farmers Union on Facebook to see events and opportunities.